My name is Sean Boyd, and this is Franklin Boulevard Media. Born December 19th, 1972. Grew up on Barkley Street over there in the Highland Hills community. It was me and 4 older brothers. And I think that our upbringing was a whole lot better than a lot because we had at least, you got 5 boys in the house, so you know how that went. But we also had the community around back in those days. We had neighbors, family, everything was family. You get a whooping down the street, all the way up the street. So your neighbor's mama could whoop you and everything else. So if we grew up like that. But we had a good situation going on because we had a field behind our house. And that's where everybody came, and that's where we did our recreational sports at, especially football. We actually went as far as to get the pine needles out of the woods and line up a real football field. Ricky McCullough, all those guys like that, they sit out there and take all day, and we line it up, and we get out there and we go for broke. We out there playing most of the older guys, my brothers, Rodney McGill, Roger Neely, Glenn Black, Darryl Black, big guys. So us little guys go out there with them, and we scared anyway. So we had to learn how to move. Most of the guys that played in the backyard over there on Barkley Radio Street actually became the great football players once we reached to high school. We had guys, Dwight Haddon, Larry Haddon, Curtis Boyd, Little Sean, me, Greg Black, all of us grew up across the street from each other. Little League, I played at Silverton at first. I went from Silverton to Powell, and Powell is where I stayed. And that's when we got with the Clay Thompsons, Tyrone Bryces, Powell. We had a great Pop Warner team. And as well, the Pop Warner team that we had ended up being the nucleus of the star to shine on Friday nights when I got to high school. Highland Junior High is right across the street from where we lived. So we started using their field as our football field and everything else. So we would go over there, actually had constructed games, real football games against other neighborhoods. It'd be Barkley Radio versus York Street, Barkley Radio versus Pryor, Barkley Radio versus Highland Hills, Barkley Radio versus Mountain View. We all did it. We bring our Pop Warner pads, helmets, put them on, and we go out there and we play against whoever. You couldn't be soft those days. You had to learn how to survive. I'm transitioning, going into Highland Junior High, and that's where I think I really developed as football goes. Got to play early, 7th grade. Went in, it was a dog fight getting a position those days because everybody was good. Coach Howell and Coach Summers were the coaches. They had a great run as far as sports went during our years and everything else. I actually wish Highland Junior High was still there because there's some records on there that got erased because it turned to a high school. We just went out and played, had fun. It was more about fun then, going out competing against everybody else because you're going to see everybody else when we go to the Irwin Centers, we go to the Boys Club, wherever we're going out, we're going to see the guys that we're playing against and everything else. So you want to have you want to have the upper hand on that. You want to have we beat y'all. You want to have that. You got to have that, actually, especially if a couple of girls sitting around. Junior high, I played defensive end and I played tight end. And at Highland, I balled out. Junior high was fun. Lived the life, had it all. Then it came time to make the transition to Ashbrook. And during this time, I would leave for the summer to go stay with my dad, wherever he was. He was in the Army, he was in the service, so we'd go spend time with him. And I didn't get to see him that much, so I was happy, okay, we're going to get to go to Louisiana. Went to Louisiana to see my dad during the summer. And that's when they first started having those summer sessions. You had to show up for summer. You had to be there for a certain amount of time before you could play football. I was gone up until that Sunday where school started. So, you had to have 7 practices with the helmet on and all that. So I came in, I was already prepared not to play football that year. I said I'd rather go see my dad than to play football. That's where I was with it. I wasn't gonna miss no trip to Louisiana. I think it was Fort Polk. I mean, I was given a warning before I went to stay with my dad. Well, Sean, you can't do that. I'm going to see my dad. And Coach Dixon came and grabbed me out of one of my classes. Said, Sean, do you want to play? And I'm like, well, I can't play. I'm not going out there sitting on the bench. After conversations, Coach D talked me into it. Might have been the best decision I ever did in my life. So from there, it went to, you play a game first week of school. I just get there. So I'm practicing. They got me on the JV. Kind of a smack in the face, but, I was actually kind of, I can't say I was scared. I was humbled. I was humbled thinking about going to play varsity. But that Thursday night I played JV, and I think we beat them. I forgot who we played. I think we beat them like 49-0. And the next day came, and it was like, Sean, you gonna play tomorrow? Huh? I just played. I had accepted. I had accepted staying in the JV because all the boys were there. Actually, all the boys was there. So that Friday, Coach called me and a couple other fellas up, like, yeah, it's time. Y'all going to play. So after me missing all the summer workouts and everything else, I got this opportunity, and I wasn't gonna let it pass. It was on. It was on and popping. It's time for 11th grade year. We out there doing real good. We doing great. Then came the Ashbrook game. That was a big game. Made a little bit of notoriety for myself. They had a running back named Barry Turner. BT, you know what I'm talking about. I think it was 7-7. Y'all haven't experienced, all y'all little young bucks haven't experienced a Ashbrook game back then. I think Gastonia shut down everybody at the game. And it came down in the fourth quarter. It was time to win the game. And we was on defense, and they did a toss play to Barry Turner. And Barry is guaranteed in the history books of Gaston County running backs, as well as North Carolina A&T, where he went. He's in the Hall of Fame there. Barry was a hard runner. He was giving us problems, but we had a meeting. We had a meeting in the backfield, me and Barry. When we made contact, it was a standstill, and then he fighting, I'm fighting. I belly-to-bellied him. Belly-to-belly is when you grab somebody and just dive. And after that play, we got up, ran to the sideline, and Mark Barnett grabbed me and said, boy, you done made it. So I'm sitting out there, and then the reality set in, like, boy, that was Barry Turner. I'm good. I thought to myself, I'm good. I heard it all up and down the streets when I was out or anywhere I was and everything else. Boy, that was Barry you did like that. So I figured I could be good in football then. With the recruiting part of it, okay, all the way back when I was in the 9th grade, we used to take trips up to Chapel Hill to see Evelyn Bradley. We would go up to Chapel Hill, so the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill knew Sean Boyd. And this is before football was playing any major part in my scheme of life and everything else. We would just go up there and I'd show my face, and I want to go by the football facilities. We go by the football facilities, and we would go and actually sit in her classes. All of the guys that played football then took a liking to us. By the time 11th grade rolled around, I was a mainstay on the campus. I went up there, actually got up there to the point where we didn't need Evelyn anymore. We could just go out and hang out with the boys. All of them caught diesel. They've been working out, and they had fun. But you see that they focused on that mindset of being the best student athlete they could be. Actually, Coach Bruce Johnson, may he rest in peace, came looking at Tyrone Smith, 10th grade, 11th grade. He was a mainstay at Ashbrook, and while he was looking at Chug, he got to see me doing my thing. So it was actually a package deal. He wanted me and Tyrone to go to Carolina. And Coach Johnson just stayed on me, and I wasn't, for one thing, I'd like to say I wasn't no dummy. I was always excelling in my academics. Made a lot of people mad when they said that over the intercom at Ashbrook, that I was going to the University of North Carolina, and a lot of them didn't get in. I had academic scholarships as well as football scholarships. Let's just say that. I made the grades I needed to make. Mr. Froneberger, I thought he tried to mess me up. Because my senior year, I could have just, you know, how you could leave at halfway through school and early release and everything else. He done put a full course on me, man. I had to stay in school the whole time my senior year. And another thing I did in the 10th grade, I took 10th grade English. So in summer school, I took 11th grade English. So my 11th grade, I was taking my 12th grade English to get ahead, because I know what I needed to get a scholarship. I was focused, man. School that recruited me, all ACC, most of the SEC. We even had UCLA, Hawaii, and that recruiting thing, it was a blur. I was Carolina all the way to the heart, but I also went to Georgia. And back then, Georgia that was right after, it might have been right after Herschel left and everything, because they had it going on down in Georgia. I loved that. Georgia Tech, you know, anytime you get down to Atlanta, anytime you get to Atlanta, everybody know what I'm talking about. It's always gonna be a good time. But you know, none of those schools overshadowed Carolina. Carolina was home. It was down the street from home, 2 hours away. Clemson, you know, we had Junior Hall there, and I actually was a big Clemson fan for a while, but that's just because Junior was there. And I went down there, and it wasn't that much to do. Junior, you know what I'm talking about. They were talking about tipping cows and stuff like that. That ain't what I want to do, you know. Then it's time to graduate. After graduation, say bye to the family. It's time to go to project graduation. And right after project graduation, it's the beach. So all that time right there is going straight to have the most fun you can possibly have, because I had to go to Chapel Hill the next week. As you know, college football has to show up earlier than anybody else on campus. So going up there was a total roller coaster. I'm going up there, and at this point in time, it's one-on-one with the coaches, basically. Coach Johnson was the nicest man I had ever met up to that point. As far as all the coaches that recruited me, Coach Bruce Johnson was the nicest man I had ever met in my life. And my mom spoke highly of him. First thing he said is, "Let me see your back pedal." Oh, have mercy. But like I had an excuse, because I was a defensive end. I wasn't a defensive back. And that move is kind of crazy, but it was a transition for me. I was fast. I knew I could run with the best of them. But I was coming off of the end all the time with my hand in the dirt. So my back pedal was horrible. And he let me know it. That's the first time that the cuss words came out. And it was hurting. It was cutting deep. I'm up here, 17, 18-year-old kid up here, and this man up here cussing me out. He's telling me how sorry I am and everything else. And I'm just looking like, yeah, you weren't acting like this in my mama's living room. He did that for the right purposes. It wasn't no way to demean me or anything else. And then the upperclassmen come in. By the time I finished counting, I think I was at 8, so I was 8th, 9th string. So I'm sitting out there, and the other underclassmen that was there with me looking at each other like, man, where do you guys come from? I mean, this guy's out there looking like linebackers at safety. So we looking at ourselves. So now we gotta look at ourselves, man. We gotta hit the weight room. It's time to get in the weight room, because I want to like him. And so that was the deal. Get stronger, faster, bigger. Rich Tootin was the strength coach there. So I went to him and told him, said, man, I need to get on the field. I cannot be on the bench. I got a whole city that's rooting for me. I cannot be on the bench. And like he told me, he said, well, it's going to take dedication and everything else. So let's say how dedicated you are. So now, with the weights and everything else, I'm getting a little bit bigger, faster, stronger. I'm seeing a difference in me. I'm running faster, eating better. And a lot of people look down on the red shirt. Yes, red shirt might be the best thing that ever happened to me. They gave me time to get into the books. You can't be successful if you don't know what you're doing. You got to know your plays, kids. The playbook is the main ingredient for you getting on the field, believe it or not. Because, I mean, you wouldn't be at that level, you wouldn't be at UNC, you wouldn't have got recruited at UNC if you didn't have the ability to do some things, you know what I mean? So they saw the ability in you, but you got to apply it. And that book, if you got the ability and then you apply what that book is telling you to do, you can do some wonderful things. During a red shirt year, you're doing everything that the football team is doing, except you're not going to the games. That's it. That's the only difference. You're doing scout team, you running routes. Matter of fact, you the other team. And fortunately, that the good players, they would pick certain guys to be Charlie Ward. For example, who played Florida State. They pick a certain person. Oh, yeah, you're going to be Charlie and stuff like that. So you feel good about being given that. Yeah. And that's when the upperclassmen get mad at you because I got to show off. I got to let these coaches see what I can do, but they don't want you to go as hard as you can. Everything else don't make them look stupid. So my red shirt, yeah, I'm in it to win it. Everything they telling me, I'm believing. I'm drinking my creatine. I'm doing my weights. I just want to get bigger, faster, stronger. And a little known fact. I don't like to say stuff that make me look bad in the light, but I was known as Highway 28. Every DB that had a number, it was just Highway, whatever number you had, Highway 28. You gotta look at it like this. We had every back that we had in our backfield was 250 pounds. Natron Means, William Henderson, Malcolm Marshall, Mike Falkerson, Mike Delaney now. All these guys were 250, and we had a drill where they would just pitch the ball out and they had to run, and you had to go up and tackle them. Yeah, and that at 185 ain't good for you. It ain't good for your health. It ain't good for your upbringing. It ain't good for nothing that you got going on. I respect those guys for what they were doing when they were running me over because that made me a better player. When I finally got on the field and everything else, I'm not worried about any other tailback in the ACC because none of them are big as them, first off. And when I'm coming up like I'm coming to hit them. So those other, they had to pay for that. I brought it like I was hitting 250, and I ain't hitting but 215. And you can see it. After my red shirt year, time to hit the field and everything. You get your start on special teams, and they put me out there on special teams, and I was the wedge buster. If y'all know what that is, that's the worst position you could ever have in any kind of sport. It's the worst. You have to run down there full speed, and they make a wedge for the guy that catches the ball to run, and they get in front of it, and they run in front of him. And you're the man that's supposed to come in and go kamikaze and bust that wedge so your other guys can get in there. But I took that badge. I wore it like a badge. I love going down. I love the contact, and I think that right there propelled them to put me in during the games and everything else because I didn't really care. I wanted to be on the field. I had to get there. And the coaches saw it, and they said, Sean wants to get on the field. So now, getting a little bit of play and everything else. So that season goes on. So now it's time for the Sean Show. My first game started. We actually went to California, and we're going against the University of Southern Cal. This is when they had all of the hype. Johnny Morton, I think Keyshawn Johnson was there, Willie McGinnis. When we got to California, they didn't give us a chance. Said the only way that we would beat them is if Donald Williams came out there and shot a three-pointer. Yeah, so we put that on the bulletin board and used that as fuel. And another thing, James Worthy came out and actually grabbed me and Greg Black and met with us for a while we were there. And so now it's game time. My first start, I got a little bit of the willies. I'm looking out there and I'm looking around and I see more Carolina blue out there than it was that USC red. And I'm like, man, this is what it's about. Big time football. It's on every TV station in the world. It's the ESPN. And I said, one thing I'm not going to do is make a fool out of myself. First play, I think I broke up a deep pass they tried to go deep with Johnny Morton, who was in the NFL for, 12, 13 years. Got a little pass breakup, so now I'm all in it. It's on and popping now. I got my first action out there on the field. It's on. We went on to beat those guys. I think we beat them like 35-9. We killed them in any aspect of the football game. I think 9 points came, second string was in. And at that time I knew I could play. I mean, this is my first action with college football. You know how they say it's faster, it's all this and all that stuff. My red shirt year prepared me for that. That's why I'm telling you that the red shirt year is the best thing that could happen to you. I got prepared for that, so when I got out there on that field, it was easy. I knew my job. I got my book. I studied. I made sure my physical was on point as well as my mental, and everything worked out. And I had a good core defensive guys around me. Everybody that started that year on defense went to the NFL. It was a great group. It was a great group of guys. I ended up with 3 interceptions. Led the team in pass breakups. So my coming out year was one that put me down in the history. You know, got a couple of ACC DBs of the week. Got the interception on Charlie Ward, who won the Heisman that year. Game-winning fumble calls against Georgia Tech. They had Dorsey Levens then. I know a lot of y'all might not remember, young guys, but all those old guys know Dorsey Levens from Green Bay. So I had some good interactions with some top-tier athletes, and I stood my own. So now I'm riding my own wave, feeling good about myself, going in, continue playing. I mean, it was just football to me then. Then some noise was coming from the sideline about NFL talk, and that got me all excited. During my career at the University of North Carolina, we had the prestigious honor of being one of the only teams that went to 4 bowl games in a row. Actually, the guys that came in after me got 5 rings. I got 4 rings while I was there. We actually won the Sears medal, and what that is, it goes to a college that performs at a high level within all sports. So we had national championships in lacrosse, swimming, field hockey, all the other stuff. We were also champions football, which led us to receive the Sears Cup. During my time at Carolina, I received several awards. I was ACC Defensive Back of the Week, probably 7-8 times. Got all ACC, second team, third team. The accolades came, they built as I went on, progressed and everything else. But one thing that I loved about while I was in school was coming back home to my city. It was just a different feeling coming back to Gastonia. All the people I grew up with, everybody I knew, everybody I loved, my family, my friends, everything else. But coming back home is different now. It's a whole lot different. You come home, you see some of the guys you play with, everything else, and they're happy for you. Pat on the back, Sean, let's do this, do that. They want to hang out with you and everything else. But you gotta. Sometimes you need to go, sometimes you don't need to go. You got to choose, make good decisions. But like a lot of times, just coming in, the people who don't really know you and everything else, the fans, happy for you and everything else. It's just a different kind of feeling when you get to them. When you walk into a room and everybody's eyes light up, you feel like a sense of accomplishment. This is what I want. This is a level that I wanted to get to and everything else. And as far as reciprocating that same feeling they're giving you, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make them feel good at the time as well. You don't want to do the negative, all this cussing and all this other stuff I see going on now. I was always respectable. I always came home on a mission. Mom Duke first. I take my dirty laundry home, drop it off to Mom Duke's, and then I go out with the boys. Okay, draft day. I went and rented out I forgot which hotel it is down there on Remount. Rented out the hotel, had family and friends and everything else down in the big room. So we sat in there, and the first day, I think I'm full of myself now. I'm full of myself. First day was that first, second, and third round. I didn't get called. I thought I should have got called. Everybody that was in my ear was telling me I was gonna get called. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, I still got a chance and everything else. Next day came, I was sitting there with everybody else enjoying themselves and everything else, and I was sitting there trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I might have to go to the Army now. So I left the party and went to my mom's house and sitting there. My brother Rodney was in there. And he was sitting there with a Minnesota Vikings hat on. And he looked at me and said, "You going to Minnesota?" And I'm like, man, I don't care if I go. It don't matter where I go now. I don't care. But my brother had a Minnesota hat, Minnesota Vikings hat on, and said, "You going to Minnesota?" So we just sat there and everything else. My phone rang. I answered. It's Dennis Green. Minnesota Vikings it was. I looked at my brother and said, "Man, how you know that?" He got on a full outfit, a Minnesota Vikings outfit. Yeah, and he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I'm looking at him like, man, how'd you know this was going to happen like that? Shout out to Rodney. So from the time I get the phone call, I got about an hour and 30 minutes to get to the airport, the flight waiting. So I go back to the party, say goodbye to everybody. Everybody, yeah, jumping. Yeah, hey, Sean, yeah. And I gotta go. I'm packed up. Time for me to go hit the road. So I get up there, I fly out to Minnesota, and who was that? Shout out to Richard Walker. He was there actually. He was there to interview me, and me and him good friends to this day. Yeah, that's my guy right there. I got on the flight, got out. They had a platform. Gave a speech to the elite of Minnesota. Let me say it that way. So we had to give a speech and everything else. They welcomed us to Minnesota. So by that time, it's time to go. They got us a hotel room. We go in, meet with Dennis Green, talk about the thank yous and the expectations. I mean, and that's when I finally realized college was, man, I would trade my college football for anything. Look, I wouldn't trade it for nothing because now in the NFL, this is business. You know that from the time you go in and meet with the coaches and everything else, it's business time. You gotta start acting a certain part. You gotta do better. You don't have classes. You ain't gotta study for nothing. Everything else. This is your main job. This is your 9 to 5, and 8 to 6. This your 7:30 to whatever. It's a job now. All the other time, free time that you have and everything else, you got to start being able to really budget what you got going on and everything else. At that time in my life, that was the only achievement that I wanted to achieve. Selected few that made it to the NFL. I want to be an NFL player. I don't care if I went to Minnesota, Green Bay, Cincinnati. It didn't matter where I went. As long as I went, that was the goal that I set. What you want to be when you grow up and everything else, like second, third grade, NFL player and all this stuff. It's one of those. I felt like I fulfilled my destiny. I made my mama proud. I made my family proud. I made Gastonia proud. And I made my friends proud. I made everybody, and I never took I never took for granted what I was given and everything else. But I always loved Gastonia. It was always something. Being drafted to Minnesota and everything else, I wanted to get closer to the crib. Minnesota's cold, snow all the time. And it was a situation in Minnesota where the two guys that I was playing behind they got drafted to Minnesota the year before me. And one of the guys, Orlando Thomas, led the NFL in interception that year. So I knew I couldn't get him. And another guy, Robert Griffith, he became all-pro and everything else. But I know those two guys were good. Not saying I wasn't better than them or anything else. I could compete with them. But Atlanta had a position where I could come down and start playing immediately and get on the field. So I came to Atlanta. Got to Atlanta. I think we was the oldest team in the NFL at that time. It might have been the sorriest team too, but they went through that big changes and everything else. Dan Reeves came in, June Jones left. June Jones loved me. Then he went to coach at the University of Hawaii, and Dan Reeves was there. Dan started bringing all his boys back. My time there was kind of shaky. He was bringing safeties in every day and everything else. I'm looking at it. So told my agent to look somewhere else and ended up going to Green Bay. Got to Green Bay. It was cold. It was cold. Ended up getting hurt up there. Went out on waivers. Never truly fully healed. So then I got to figure out what's next. Came home to Gastonia. Well, after I traveled a little bit, traveled extensively, spent a whole lot of money. Came back home to Gastonia, sat down, thought about what I wanted to do and everything else. So then I had to start filling out a new thing, because I told you I like to plan and everything else. So I got a pen and a piece of paper and started writing down what my next goal would be. No job that you get is going to compare with an NFL check, believe that. So trying to do something ordinary just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I went in, got with one of my friends, and we went in and we started doing group homes here in Gastonia. Had a nice run with that, but it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling to me and everything else. So then I looked around at other avenues of what I could do, because I always have football on the mind. Football's always on the mind, everything else. So then I started looking toward coaching and everything else. I never really left it, but I wanted to coach individuals that already had the dog in them, like I like to call it. I wanted to go and get talent and make them better. During that time, I started doing tours with VTO, football-based skills assessment camp. That's where you get the best guys, bring them in and work them out. I started branching out, doing NFL prep, and during that time, what I would do was go to any city that has an NFL team. We would take college guys that's trying to get drafted. During that time, I could say I actually put my hand on maybe 40 first rounders. So they got some of this knowledge and went on and exceeded like that. Now I'm affiliated with the Youth Shrine Bowl. I'm the North Carolina Regional Director of the Youth Shrine Bowl. And that game is just like the Senior Shrine Bowl, North Carolina versus South Carolina. So they wanted to bring it down to 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So we getting them at a younger age and we introducing them to the game and letting them see how it is played. But like I said, we going after the dog, 6th, 7th, and 8th. North Carolina won 1, South Carolina won 1, and 1 was tied. So, I mean, we going out, we getting the best competition to play each other. You ought to come and be part of it. 6th, 7th, 8th graders that's upcoming, we waiting for you. And we go around, we do 15 combines in the state of North Carolina and 15 combines in the state of South Carolina. We're trying to hit every area. We make sure we're trying not to miss any area where we can get the talent from. If you're trying to find where our combines are located, you can go to youthshrinebowl.com and you'll see we have a running ticker running with all the camps and all the locations. The direction I want to see Gastonia go is I see it's a lot of people eager to not want to see the next guy, whether they're in competition, say we're doing camps and everything else. I don't see the pushing each other, the camaraderie, somebody to back you up. If I take a misstep, I'd have somebody there to help me, not to make sure that everybody know I took a misstep. When I first came home and everything else, a lot of people were talking about Tremaine Stevens coming in to my city, and I told them Tremaine Stevens might be the best thing that happened to Gastonia. Real talk. You can ask anybody. We had several friends, Ramon and my guys and all that stuff. Never heard a bad word about me from him or coming from this side to him. Tremaine doing a great job over there. I salute, even though he went to NC State, but I salute you, brother. Yeah, I mean, as far as that, Gastonia has so much talent and so much to offer. The world. You saw what happened when we gave James Worthy to the world. You saw what happened when they gave me to the world. You saw what happened when they give. It's too many people from Gastonia that's doing a lot outside of Gastonia. No matter where you send somebody from Gastonia, they're gonna pop. Everybody's gonna know that guy. I mean, because it's something that Gastonia has that I don't see anywhere else. I mean, I can go down the street to Richmond County. I can go up the way to Durham or anywhere else. I see different stuff in somebody from Gastonia. And if I'm sitting in a room and I look across and I never met somebody, I can see that's Gastonia. I like the way we shine when we out. There's a light bulb. It's something about us. Our city, man, our city is special. You got to come and put the water on it, make it grow, put your heads together. I mean, I would love to have my game, the Shrine Bowl, here in Gastonia. It would definitely bring a lot of monetary gains to the city of Gastonia because I have to buy a hotel, we have to pay food, lodging, recreation, entertainment. It's a lot. It's over 200 kids, so we have to have a hotel. Is Gastonia big enough to handle us? Is the question. Can Gastonia handle it? Yes, they can. We have a lot of opportunities here. Gaston County is growing, I'm even looking downtown. I'm seeing the apartments. I'm seeing everything going up. We're about to blow up, actually, if we continue this path that we on. All we gotta do is we gotta keep pushing each other, fellas. I like what's going on. I see a lot of guys that I grew up with doing a lot of great things. Just to be doing it. It's not even about money. It's not about cloud. It's not about anything else. I just love the way the direction that Gastonia is going, and we got to keep on going, fellas. Let's get it.